Hey, hi, hello, Mika here from MotionCraver.com with another how-to video. In this video, I'll be showing you how to extend one of the media placeholders in the System Error promo project. So first, let's go ahead and import some content. Go ahead and choose the Put Imports Here folder. Go up to File, Import, File. Now, I've already imported an image that I have in that folder. And once you have your content, open up the Edit These Comps folder. Open up the Put Images Videos Here and go to the folder that says Extra Image Vid Comps. And what we're going to do is double click to open that up in the timeline and click, hold, and drag our image or video. Okay, so once I have my new image vid comp done, I'm going to go ahead and go to Other Comps, Editing Optional, find the folder called Animated Image Vid Comps, open that up as well, and find the image vid animation comp that matches the same number that you added your content to. In this case, that is image vid 9, so I'm going to double click to open that up in the timeline. Now this is where all of the animation happens, and this is the part that I want to extend. So to do that, first off, I'm going to go up to Composition, choose Composition Settings, and extend the duration. I'm going to type 30.00 to make it 30 seconds long. As you can see, now I have a much longer comp to work with. And now that I have my longer duration, I need to extend all of these layers so that everything doesn't end right here. It just goes black. So let's start from the bottom and work our way up. I'm going to select all of these layers, press End on the keyboard, hold down the Alt key, and press the right bracket key. Now you can just click, hold, and drag the end of the layer as well, which I will do now. I'll select these 3 layers and drag them over. Basically, everything that comes after this 1 second and 15 frames point, I want to extend the layers for if they're the long layers. If you have little short layers here, you're going to keep those intact because those are short little effect animations. But we basically need to extend the bulk of the project. Now I am using the version with pre-rendered flares, so I'll be adding time remapping to those layers in order to extend them. But first, let's go ahead and extend the text dark spot layer. And just to recap, so far I've extended layers 32 through 41, as well as layers 23 through 25. And I just extended layer 20. Now I also want to extend this pixelation layer. And this time I'm going to use a shortcut, which is Alt and the right bracket key. And now for the text that animates underneath the main text placeholder. And this faded text and this faded background text layer has some animation on it. So I'm going to press U on the keyboard, take that last keyframe and drag that all the way to the end of the timeline. Actually, I could Control X to cut and then Control V to paste, which will go a lot faster. And I'm going to zoom out in the timeline by using this slider at the very bottom here, just so that I can see everything. And then I have my main text and my main text 2. Now main text 2 is the outgoing animation of the text. So what I want to do is extend the main text and then select the main text 2 and the scrolling animation 2 and actually move those layers toward the end of the timeline. Again, anytime you see a very short layer, don't extend that. Go ahead and move its position in the timeline. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with noise 1 and noise 2. As the name implies, these are noise animations that should happen towards the end of the timeline. See? Okay, so as the text animates out, we have a little noise glitch. Actually, I'm going to move these over just a bit and zoom in here. Select both of them and move them over. And as you can see, here's my noise. I'm going to zoom back out and jump back to my image vid flares. Now again, this is a pre-rendered animation, so I'm going to extend the video by going to Layer, Time, Enable Time Remapping, and then I'll just use a shortcut again, Alt and the right bracket key to move that over. So basically, it's this flare over here on the left hand side. If I turn off the visibility and turn that back on, you can see. So basically, it's going to animate in and then just sit there, which is fine. Okay, next up, we have another flare. Again, Layer, Time, Enable Time Remapping. Go to the end, Alt, right bracket key. Do that one more time here. Okay, so as we move up, I have my title flare. And that is this little flare under here, under the text. And as you can see, that kind of animates. Actually, I'm going to turn off adaptive resolution so that you can see as I scrub through. So that starts on the left-hand side of the text and works its way over. And you could do one of two things here. You could actually just duplicate this layer, and as it goes away, it could start back up. And you would just duplicate that over and over again till you got to the end. Or what I'm going to do is just fade this out. So starting about right here, I'm going to actually add a transform effect to this layer, because if I press T to bring up the opacity, you'll see that the numbers are red because there is an expression on there. But I want to add animation to the opacity, which I can't do if I already have an expression here. So to change that, I'm going to go up to Effect, Distort, Transform, make a keyframe on opacity, go to the end of the layer by pressing the O key, and reduce that value to 0. So now my flare slowly fades away, and I'll just leave my text the way it is. Now I did miss one of the layers. We have the vignette comp, and although it doesn't start after the 1 second 15 frames mark, I do need to extend that, and when I do, you can see the darkness comes back around the borders. And if I go up here, so here I have my transition solid layer, and that's going to kind of put a tint over the whole image or video area. And what I want to do is move that to the end of the timeline also. So I'm just going to press the right bracket key to get it down there, and then zoom in and position it the way I need to. I want this effect to start as everything starts to animate out, maybe just a few frames. And if I scrub forward, you can see that the color now changes. And up to the next layer, we have the letterbox layer. I'm going to press Alt. Actually, I'll press N first to get to the end of the timeline, and press Alt and the right bracket key to extend that as well. Same thing for the grain and blur layers. And the image vid shake layer. So now if I scrub through, everything seems to be extended just fine for 30 seconds. Now the only thing I'm missing is that scrolling animation at the end. And if I go back to my scrolling animation 2 layer and I zoom in, I can see that I need to move this over the same way that I did the transition solid. And now if I scrub through, it starts to scroll over. And if I press G on the keyboard, I can bring up the keyframes here. And if I want, I could exaggerate this animation by adjusting the left value to make it scroll a lot more. So now if I scrub through the end here, it's a little bit more exaggerated. Okay, so now that I have my image vid comp extended, I can go back to my main comp and find the area that I want to add my new layer. Let's go with putting it in place of image vid 4. What you want to do is make sure you find a comp where the text is on the same side so that the pattern is consistent. So now that I've found the place that I want to add my new layer, I'm going to press I on the keyboard to get to the end point of that layer. And then I'm just going to click, hold, and drag my image vid 9 animation layer here and press the left bracket key to bring it to that point. Now I could just replace the image vid 4 animation, but instead I'm just going to turn off the visibility. That way if I change my mind, I can always go back and turn that back on. So now if I scrub through, we have our new comp that we just made, but then image vid 5 animation gets in the way. So what I'm going to do is go up to composition, composition settings, and extend the duration by 30 seconds. Now you can just change the values of these numbers, or you can press the plus key, 30.00, which is going to add 30 seconds to whatever value is in that box. And I need to do the same thing as I did in my image vid animation comp. I need to extend the layers that end too soon. And once I've done that, I'm going to select image vid 5 through the end title animation. Basically, any image vid animation layers that come after the point that you've just added your new image vid animation comp. And I'm going to move these down so that they start at the point where image vid 9 ends. So if I scrub through, I now have my new longer 30-second comp, and then it transitions into the next part of the animation. Okay, so now that I've extended the main comp, I need to also extend the render comp. So if I go to render these comps, choose the render comp of my choice, and go up to composition settings. And again, I'm going to add 30 seconds to the duration, and go ahead and extend that main comp layer. Now, if you are using an audio track in this project, you're also going to need to extend the audio edit comp, and you can find that in the project audio folder, composition settings, add 30 seconds, and if you need to, you can just extend the audio layer. I'm going to turn off this extra one, which was a small edit that I did to the audio track. So if you're using Fight No More, just go ahead and extend that out. And if you need to add a fade out to the audio, depending on where it stops, you can press L on the keyboard, make a keyframe at the point that you want it to start to fade out, go to the end of the timeline, and reduce that number as far as it will go. And if you're not at the end of the timeline, when you make your keyframe, go ahead and end the layer at that point. I just pressed Alt and the right bracket key, and that way you can ensure that it is silent after that keyframe. And you can also just duplicate the Fight No More track or whatever track you're using over and over to fill up the timeline. Okay, so once you have that done, you have successfully extended one of the media placeholders in the System Error Promo project. I hope that you find this useful. Thanks for watching. Take care.